Hi, it is mid-August and it's time to get serious about mocks. The foremost questions being how many mocks should you be taking and at what intervals. Students, mocks serve two purposes. One of them is similar to that of a dress rehearsal for a play or a practice match played at a venue before a major tournament. This practice match helps us get acquainted with the pitch conditions, the ground conditions, help us adapt to the weather, whether it's hot, humid, whether it's cold, what does the wind condition, what role does wind condition have to play. The dress rehearsals, similarly, they offer us, a chance to learn and deliver the dialogue. They highlight areas which are where I might not perform well, where I need a little more improvement. They allow me an opportunity, to try out voice modulation, to add emotions to the role that I'm playing. So similarly, when you take a mock, you experience 3 hours of test taking. These 3 hours of test taking throws out a lot of information. It tells us the mistakes that I make while taking the test. It provides us with an opportunity for me to try various test taking strategies. Right? More on these in a while. Let's go ahead with the second purpose of the mocks. That is of measuring my performance. Yeah, the mocks result into a percentile rank against the competition, and most of the students are more focused on this percentile rank. Right? We have students writing to us that I've taken the first 2 mocks and my marks have been 40, 50, 60. How do I increase it to 150? Closer to CAT, we have students sending us scores in 20, 25 mocks that they have taken, and there's no apparent pattern in the scores. The percentiles are seesawing between 80 percentile to 99 percentile. Students, none of this throws up enough information or data. You can't make much out of the first 2 scores that one gets into a mock, or through a pattern of very varied scores, right? So with this background, let me answer how many mocks you should be attempting. There is a growing trend of taking a large number of mocks, in excess of 30, sometimes more than 40 as well. Students, taking more mocks does not necessarily mean better preparation. In fact, there are disadvantages of taking more mocks. And one of the disadvantage is the seriousness with which one attempts a mock takes a major blow. Right? Even after not doing well in the first 10 mocks, 12 mocks, one can still rationalize and say that there are 15 more mocks to go, there are 20 more mocks to go. So one feels as if no harm is done. Right? This doesn't make any sense. Students, right? You have wasted the entire time invested in taking the first 10 mocks if you are only going to look at the fact that you are going to take many more tests. Right? I think the mock should mimic the reality, and the reality is that you have only one shot at the CAT per year. Right? This is similar to playing a final match. As against playing groups or the group matches, the league matches. Right? In league matches, you always have that the final is yet far away and I can still improve. But when you play a final, right, the environment is totally different. There's an added element of anxiety. There's an added element of uncertainty. Right? There's a more pressure, and mocks should create this sort of environment, should create an environment of pressure, of that uncertainty, of anxiety. Right? Because eventually you get only one shot on that day, right? So I think the mock should be representative of that. So when you take a mock, you need to take it with the mindset that the score that I get in this mock is going to be what my admissions are going to be based on, right? And getting such a mindset is very difficult when you take 30 plus mocks. When you take 30 plus mocks, student, it becomes just a routine weekly affair. Every Saturday, Sunday, you're going taking a mock. You know, I hardly see any excitement. I hardly see any enthusiasm about taking those mocks, right? Hence, I say that the seriousness with which people take mocks takes a major hit when one is taking so many mocks, right? My suggestion is that you divide the mocks that you're taking into two categories. The first is performance measuring mocks, where the end result is only the score that you're going to get, right? This is like the D-Day, the final performance that you're going to do, right? And there's a second set of mocks that you take. Let's call them experiential mocks. These are mocks where you experiment. Yeah, you try out different approaches to taking the test. Here the outcome is not just the score that you have. The outcome is the experience that you go to. So divide mocks into performance measurement and those about experiences or how do I improve my test taking. So how many performance measuring mocks? Performance measuring mocks, the score is what it is. End of story. I'm not interested in what went right, what went wrong. It is like the cat that you have taken, right? So to get this feel, I think it's necessary that they should be limited to just 6 to 8, right? I would just say about 6. But if 6 appears too less to you, you can increase it to 8. Anything more than 8 and the feel of the finals is we are going to lose it, right? And 8 is quite a lot of finals for you to play actually, right? So I would not suggest anything more than 8. And it is only in these performance measuring mocks that I will keep a tab of the successive scores that I have, right? The graph of the scores have some meaning, right? The other mocks, I'm not so worried about these scores. So what are these experiential mocks? The other mocks, here the score is not the of paramount importance. What is important is have you learned what works in your favor and what doesn't work in your favor. For example, let's take the first mock that one takes. There's no point making it a performance measuring mock, right? It's not your cat. You're not going to immediately take a cat without any practice, right? So this is the first experiential mock. What story does it tell you? The result may be just 40, 50, 60, doesn't matter. The message here is how much of a distance you have to cover more. Right? So maybe it might be a wake-up call for many of us. So there are enough people who have scored in 40, 50s in their first mocks and ended up scoring 99 percentile plus, right? So it can act as a wake-up call. So probably you can just, it's a good time to start off taking a mock so that you wake up early. The next few experiential mocks will throw up stories like experiences of time management. It's possible that you'll realize that I ended up spending 5 to 6 minutes in just one cont question. Now when I look at it after taking the test, it appears foolishness. Why? Was this question having more weightage than the other questions? Then why did I end up spending so much time? I should have just left that and gone ahead, right? Other common experiences are wrong selection of questions. So after the mock is done, one ends up realizing, oh, I knew 20, 25 questions, but I attempted only 10, 12 questions. Why? Because one of the common thing is I was going sequentially. I did not I did not really exercise my judgment, right, as much as I could do, or else I was very ambitious. I ended up taking questions which I thought somehow I would solve it even though I had no idea about them. So these are experiences that you go. Some more experiences, panic, how do you handle panic, right? Or else not performing well in one section, how does it affect your performance in the successive sections? So the outcome from these experiential mocks are these notes, students, right? These let's say performance hindering factors or performance enhancing factors, whatever it is, yeah, you need to write, and this note has to be made immediately after taking the mock. It cannot be remembered 1 or 2 days later. You need to be alive to that 2-3 hours, and after that 2-3 hours, write a note. How did you feel about this mock? What is the big picture ticket, the big thing takeaway of yours, right? Okay. Another huge takeaway from experiential mocks is the game plan that you are going to follow. What I mean by that is, you start your mock. First is the verbal section. What are you going to do? Are you going to attempt the para jumbles or are you not going to attempt? You need to have a clear idea. And how do you get it? By practicing them earlier. So attempt a mock where you do the para jumbles, attempt a mock where you don't depend on the para jumbles, right? And then compare your performances, right? And maybe doing it once may not be enough. You might have to repeat it. Right? In RC, what are we going to do? Am I going to read through the passages very, very swiftly? You would have tried that in your practice, but now it is time to do it in a test environment. Okay, or and then read questions and only those parts which are relevant for questions, or are you going to read a little slowly but get the complete picture and then not come back to the passage? Try it out in different mocks, see how it works. DI, how much of a time are you going to spend in browsing the various sets before choosing which to attempt? If your idea is that I need to attempt 5 sets, obviously the time available to browsing the sets is going to be less. Make a judgment. If I spend only 5 minutes looking at the sets, do I really put the 5 minutes to good use? Do I really end up getting a good can I judge which are the easy and difficult sets? And if I can't do that, that 5 minutes is also waste. Then probably just reduce it to 2 minutes, right? If it is not going to be, or should I increase it? Or if my attempts are just about 4 sets, then I better be sure that I choose them right. So is it better to invest more time in choosing those sets? Your other experiences, what happens if a set that I make and I am midway of it, I'm not too sure. When is that midway? Should I quit that set after 7 minutes, 8 minutes? There are no easy answers to that. That depends upon the experience that you do. Right? So we'll talk more in detail, but this is just an overview of what is that game plan. Right? In quant, there are many ways of attempting the quant section in various rounds, or let's just leave it as, do you have a target that at the end of 20 minutes where you should be, at the end of 40 minutes, 45 minutes where you should be? What are you going to do in the first half? Like for example, when I'm running a marathon race, I know that for the first 30 kilometers, 31 kilometers, I'm going to target a pace of whatever it is, 6 minutes a kilometer, and once at 31 I know that I need the highest mental resolve, and once I cross that 36-37 kilometer mark, then I can sprint and I have reserved my. So I'm saying that there needs to be a game plan. Cricket, are you going to save wickets till the 10th over, 12th over, or are you going to slog out right at the beginning and put pressure on the bowlers? So I'm saying there needs to be an idea. You can't jump into a test and let it take its own course. You need to steer it in a direction. Do you know what you're trying to do? Right? So these are experiential mocks, right? So how many of them? As I've said, there are so many experiences, so many strategies for you to try, many of them multiple times. So obviously the number of experiential mocks are going to be pretty large, and twice of the performance measuring mocks is a very safe number. So if you're taking 6 to 8 performance measurement mocks, you can very easily do 12 to 16 experiential mocks, or even more than these numbers. right? So now, having seen these numbers, let's look at how do I pace these tests, means at what intervals do I take them. Needless to say, you're not going to start off with the performance measurement marks. You don't directly start playing a finals, right, without experiencing first. So I don't see any reason for you to do that in the month of August. Let's say there are 6 to 8 that you have to do. The first thing is, no two of these performance measurement marks should be taken at an interval of less than 10 days. I don't even think so a week is enough. You know, you need to do some work between two performance measurement marks. That is what is going to help the graph go up. You have taken one D-day, like think of it like a D-day performance. See, you have taken it. Now you need to come back and you need to accept the reality of what that score is. You need to probably, you know, if it is not up to the mark, you need to re-strategize. You need to do some work. And that work cannot happen in a matter of 2, 3, 4 days. You will need a week, 6, 8 days to make some meaningful change in your abilities, right? And hence, I think a 10-day interval between two performance measuring marks is a necessary thing, right? If you're taking a lot of marks, you might want to keep every alternate week marks as a performance measuring marks, right? And remember, the seriousness attached to it is very, very high, right? Because the scores are the entire story, right? So, if that is the gap between two of them, and I need to do about 8 of them, I think so in November can be taken just 2 of them. Or maybe 3 is also a little high because you only have, let's say, 20-25 days. So I would say just 2 in the first 20 days of November. The last 8-9 days, you just need to be a more mental preparation. So October you could take 3, September you could take 3, 2, 8, more than enough, right? The experiential marks, again, those, there's no point doing them closer to the exam. So you need to do them beforehand. So let's say twice the number, 12 to 16. So how can I break that 12 to 16? You could easily start off with a couple of them, 2 of them in the month of August itself. Right? The first 2, that is just to get a hang and feel of it, to know what distance you have to cover, to know the big error places that happen, the big mistakes that happen. In the month of September, October, you can end up doing 4 to 6, as many as 4, as less as 4, even as high as 6, or even more. I'll just talk. In October, you could do 4 to 6. And November, I don't think so is a good time for any experimentation. By the start of November, the first week or so, you should have tried out whatever you have to do, right? 4 to 6 in September, October becomes 8 to 12. Add 2 of August, so that is going to be 10 to 14. Maybe 1 or 2 in November, just in case needed, right? With at what intervals? Now, experiential marks can be taken even on consecutive days. Remember, if I know that I need to try something out and I tried it today and it did not work, so it's not that it is never going to work. Maybe I did not implement it properly. So probably I need to give it another attempt, so that another attempt can be right tomorrow. So you can do many of them. Right, and so the numbers can even go beyond the suggested, 12 to 16. But then if the numbers are going beyond, remember, these are micro experimentation. For example, if I need to experiment choice of questions, right, then what I'm going to do is, I don't really have to attempt the entire 3-hour paper to decide whether my choice of questions are right. I might just pick up a quant section and I might say, okay, I just have 10 minutes for the entire 34 question and I have to just choose which ones am I going to attempt and not actually attempt them. So my mark over there is only a 10-minute thing. Once having made my choice, done, decision done, all voting closed, Now let me go back and attempt those and see whether my selection was right. Could I attempt all of them within the overall idea that I have of whatever, 2 minutes a question or 2.5 minutes a question or 3, depending upon what is your overall target. Later, see the other questions and see, did you miss out some easy ones, right? So it's not just a complete 3 hours sitting at a desk taking a test, right? In DI, if you want to choose sets, take 2-3 tests in quick successions. So they might also be sectional tests. So you can break up a mock into sectional tests if you want to do experimentation, right? It gives you more, let's say, information. The information doesn't get crowded out in 3 hours of fatigue or so on, right? Okay, so those are the numbers that you can take. And what else? So I guess that covers it. So in summation, break the tests into 2 parts. One, the serious score measuring ones, just 6 to 8, not at less than 10 days interval, 2, 3, 3 in September, October, November, or 3, 3, 2. The others can be as high as 12 to 16, 20. So eventually we have reached that 25, 28 number. But then the purpose of these tests are very different. Hope you get it, right? So while I'm at it, let me also address this question, which test series? Student, any out of, I'm going only alphabetically. Anyone out of Career Launcher, IMS, Time. Any of them is okay. Student, different years, different of these institutes end up having a slightly better quality questions. I wouldn't even say that actually, right? In other years, it could be some other institute. So it's absolutely wrong to say that one of them is definitely better than the other. No one, except that one might have a preference for one of these types. But then there is no such distinction. For us, pay attention carefully. For us, it is not the test questions per se which make a difference. For us, it is the feel, the experience of taking the test is what is important, right? And the scores that they throw out vis-a-vis the competition, that is important. Remember, no one knows CAT. So people keep telling maybe this test was way beyond the CAT levels. How do you know CAT level? It is quite possible that CAT this year might end up at that level. You don't know. Oh, these people give the latter mocks of Time become easy. Who knows, the CAT tomorrow might be easy. So it is pretty foolishness to, judge a test paper with when you are not even sure that there is something called a CAT pattern or a CAT level, right? So hope you get the idea. Do not waste time. The more you spend on social media, you're going to get random recommendations. You're going to get recommendation from people who themselves are recommending it based on someone else's recommendation. They have no clue about experiencing any of them. So I don't think so we should, get into things that are, which have hardly any relevance to the entire process, right? All of them are good enough. Take any of them. If you don't have a choice, go for the cheaper priced one, or between friends amongst friends, share different test ones so that you can, mix and match or get the best of all of them, right? So that's it. So let me end by thanking my wife for allowing me to use her Dex workstation. I'm not into painting. The closest that I can get to painting is drawing geometrical triangles and medians and incenters, right? Thank you. Bye.